pick these up. Yeah, your Spider-Man cup combo. Make sure you get it at your local movie theater if they are selling it. You get the popcorn, you get a nice soft drink. Mwah. What more do you want when you're watching a Spider-Man movie? Check it out. The collector cup combo at your local movie theater. Make sure you pick it up. So let's get right into the spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home. And thanks for tuning into the non-spoiler review. I wasn't sure what to do. Non-spoiler review, spoiler review. So I figured why not do both? I didn't want to just throw everything into one video. I wanted to give you that mouth taste feel of, the little anticipation of what's to come. This movie from start to finish is insane. And as I said in my non-spoiler review, it starts right off where Far From Home left off. It's literally the next frame. If you edit Far From Home and the beginning of No Way Home with the clips, it's perfect. It's such a smooth edit. And that's how it starts. So basically, we find out that everyone now knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. The start of the movie is really good. We see him going through these stages of trying to understand who he is now because the world knows who he is. Especially Jonah Jameson, telling everybody who he is now. And J.K. Simmons coming back as Jameson was really, really fun and really great to see. But I feel like that character is more mature than he was in the Sam Raimi movies. And seeing all these aspects of what's happening in this movie is really, really great. So the police come in, they take Spider-Man, they take Peter Parker, Ned, MJ, Aunt May to questioning and this and that. And they try and figure out what's going on. And we have a surprise cameo in this movie from Matt Murdock himself, Daredevil. And Charlie Cox is only in this for one scene, but he's such an impactful character that it works so well. And he uses his powers in a way where a brick is thrown through Aunt May's window, and he catches it just like that, right before Spider-Man could catch it. So you know that Matt Murdock is now part of the MCU, which is a fantastic, fantastic touch. While all this is happening, and Ned, MJ, and Peter want to get into MIT. They're really close friends and everything. They're trying to plan everything out, and they don't get into MIT because MJ and Ned are, friends with Peter, and Peter Parker thinks it's a bad idea. So what he does is that he goes to Doctor Strange and asks him to do a spell where everyone forgets he's Spider-Man. And Strange tells him he doesn't have the Time Stone anymore. Doctor Strange uses a different spell. But when this happens, it opens the universe of multiverses. So then the next scene, Peter wants to meet with the MIT professor or the head lead to try and get MJ and Ned into MIT. While this happens, something's happening. His spider senses tingle. Doc Ock attacks Peter Parker on the freeway, and it's Alfred Molina coming back, as you've seen in the trailers. What a way and what a sequence of events. Alfred Molina's character of Doc Ock not knowing that this is not his Peter Parker Spider-Man is really interesting to see. And he's just fighting him and everything's happening. And you can tell that this Doc Ock is more mature. The look is different. And then, Doc Ock captures Spider-Man and says, "You're not Peter Parker." But somehow the nanotechnology that Spider-Man has in his suit, which we know of from the previous Spider-Man movies, goes into the tentacles of Doc Ock. And then Doc Ock loses control of his tentacles. And then Peter Parker now has control of everything. Doc Ock does not know what's happening, what's going on. So then Peter Parker wants to know, what the hell is going on. So all the while that's happening, all of a sudden we hear the laughter of Green Goblin. The pumpkin bomb comes in frame. And then we see the hang glider come in, face to face. And then Peter Parker, Tom Holland Spider-Man's like, "Is that a green monster? What's going on?" And then Alfred Molina, Doc Ock says, "Osborn?" So all of a sudden the scene ends and Peter Parker is, thrust into the Sanctum Sanctorum. And all of a sudden we see this thing coming at him from behind. It's the Lizard in a prison. And Doctor Strange captures the Lizard. We see Doc Ock in a cell. And everything's happening after another. And then, it's interesting because then Doctor Strange is like, "Okay, what's happening?" He's like, "Because you opened the multiverse and, it's real now." So Strange tells Peter Parker to catch this guy, catch this green guy. and to do everything. So in the next scene, we see Peter Parker wear the gold and black costume, and he's out in the so-called electric field, I want to say, with the towers and everything, and all of a sudden we see Electro, Jamie Foxx. But not only that, we see the Sandman. But the Sandman is trying to protect Peter Parker, but he doesn't know that that's not his Peter Parker he's protecting. So Electro doesn't even know that. So in that scene, we see that, Electro gets caught, is sent to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and then Sandman doesn't trust Parker, Tom Holland's Parker, so he gets taken to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Parker comes back, and all this whole crazy thing just starts happening and everything. And while that's happening, the next scene we see Willem Dafoe in an alleyway where his, the Green Goblin mask is sitting on a, garbage thing, and the voice is just talking to him. So he smashes the mask and he walks away. But then he shows up at Aunt May's facility where she works, and then he comes in, Peter Parker comes in, and is like, what's going on? Willem Dafoe's, Norman Osborn doesn't know what's happening or what's going on. So Aunt May drops off Parker and Norman Osborn at the Sanctum Sanctorum. They go down, and Doctor Strange, convinces them that all of a sudden something happens, and then, Norman Osborn is put into the cell. So all these villains are now in the cell. You have Sandman, you have Lizard, you have Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro. So it's an array of things happening. But the interesting factor, and I do want to say, and I'm really, really surprised, and I didn't expect this in this movie, is that when each villain in their own universe knew who they were. For example, Doc Ock knew who Norman Osborn was, but Norman Osborn's dead. Okay, that's the thing. And then Max Dillon knew who Lizard was, and then Lizard knew who Max Dillon was, because they're from the Amazing Spider-Man universe. But then Sandman knew who Electro was and knew who certain other ones were. So it's interesting to see how the villains in this movie, who were from different universes, knew about each other, but they never coexisted at the same time. Doc Ock knew who Norman Osborn was. Norman Osborn knew who Doc Ock is. Electro knows who Lizard is. Lizard knows who Electro is. Sandman knows who everyone else is. So it's interesting to see how everything layers on top of a layer, which is really, really fun. Now, Peter Parker is trying to do something different. You can tell this is a different Peter Parker for that matter, and this is a really, really interesting thing. He wants to do good. He sees the good in these villains. Unlike, the previous other Spider-Man who just wanted to die and everything. But Doctor Strange wants to send them back to their universe, because he tells Parker that it's their fate, they're going to die no matter what. So Parker stops this, and all of a sudden Doctor Strange and Spider-Man get into a fight in the mirror universe. All of a sudden, Parker knows what's happening, and he uses the mirror universe against Strange, where he traps him in the Grand Canyon. Once that happens, he brings back this box that you see in the trailer and it's the spell. Now each villain is going after this box. So once this all happens, we then get an interesting fact of Peter Parker takes all the villains to Happy Hogan's apartment, because in Happy Hogan's apartment there is a Stark equipment there that can change everyone back to the normality of what they were before they were these villains. So Electro's there, Sandman's there, Doc Ock is there, and Green Goblin's there. But Lizard is nowhere to be found. We don't know where Lizard is. But evidently Lizard's in the back of a truck somewhere. It's just interesting because, it's Lizard, so he can destroy things. So while this is happening, the mind of Peter Parker, how everything works, is that he goes and he helps all these, villains. He uses a new technology where Doc Ock can control his arms again. All of a sudden, Peter Parker's spider senses go off. And all of a sudden, it's Willem Dafoe. He's trying to do certain things, and he's trying to manipulate things, and the villains are trying to understand what's happening, and they get into a fight. Doc Ock escapes, and then the Sandman escapes along with Electro, but Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin, stays behind and fights Tom Holland's Peter Parker in this apartment complex where Happy Hogan lives. All the while this is happening, it's like a crazy sequence. Lizard gets involved, and then somehow Green Goblin gets the upper hand in this. And then when Green Goblin gets the upper hand, Aunt May sticks him with something of the serum, but it doesn't work. So all of a sudden, you see the hang glider come in, crash through the doors, hit Aunt May, and she's injured. So he throws the pumpkin bomb toward Aunt May, but somehow Peter Parker swipes it away, which you saw in the trailer, and it blows up. Later on, and during the scene, Aunt May does die, but she tells something to Peter and says that with great power comes great responsibility. So Peter is all distraught that Aunt May died. He goes up to the rooftop where him, MJ, and Ned were in the beginning of the movie, and it just goes from there and on. And then while that's happening, they don't understand or see anything going on. So Ned has the ring from Doctor Strange. So he says, "Oh, I wish I could see Peter Parker again." So he does that, he does that thing. He does that thing. And then they see Spider-Man. It's like, okay, is that Peter? Peter Parker, come on. Peter. So this Peter Parker, Spider-Man comes through, takes off. It's Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. We are introduced to Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. And the whole concept of this scene was funny because he has to prove that he's Spider-Man. And all the while that's happening, Ned does it again. He's like, I want to see Peter Parker. All of a sudden, Tobey Maguire comes in. And now you have the universe and the multiverse of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in this movie, which is what Marvel was trying to keep secret for so long. You had the leaks, you had the rumors, nobody knew what was going on. But this is the ultimate holy shit moment of Spider-Man movies. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man do know what happened in their universes. And they do know what's happening in a way because they're there to help Tom Holland's Peter Parker Spider-Man. So they all get together, they have to understand things, and it's just an array of things happening where the three minds of Peter Parker come in and they use their mind to put together serums to turn everyone back to the way they were. So that's going on. And the confrontation, the back and forth, and the banter between Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Peter Parker, and Tom Holland, and between Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland is really, really fun and really, really good. And it's just a whole craziness of things. And there's a scene where, Ned gives Peter his, web shooters, and he's like, what is that? Tobey Maguire's asking. He's like, oh, it's web shooters. I need it because all of a sudden Tobey Maguire shoots it out of his wrist where it comes from him inside. And Andrew Garfield's kind of just like, whoa, I didn't know that could happen. So then all this leads to the climactic ending at the Statue of Liberty where they all try and fight the villains at one time. And seeing all the villains and all the Spider-Man from all these universes come together in this one big climactic scene is insane. And the reason I say that is because Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is fighting the Lizard, Electro, but Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is fighting Doc Ock. So it's just different things at different times. And it's really, really fun and insane. And before everything is happening, the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland do share a moment where, they joke around and how certain things happened and what happened was, the emotional aspect of with Gwen in Andrew Garfield's case and Uncle Ben in Tobey Maguire's universe and then Aunt May now in Tom Holland's universe. So the emotional connection aspect is there, and it's a bond. It's a bond you never expected to see, but it works so well. And then they talk about certain things, and Tobey Maguire tells Andrew Garfield, he's like, no, you're amazing. He's like, no, you really are amazing. And if nobody gets that joke, it's because Andrew Garfield's movie was called The Amazing Spider-Man. So it's really, really great. So all this is happening, and they haven't worked as a team. And the only character that's worked as a team with someone is Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's never worked with a team. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man never worked as a team. So they work as a team to defeat all these villains. And it's just an interesting concept because Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man brings back Flint Marko, Sandman, into his human form. And you see it's Thomas Hayden Church reprising his role from Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3, which is great. And then Andrew Garfield's, villain of the Lizard, the character of Rhys Ifans is really great, and you see him turn back to what he is. And all of a sudden you see Tobey Maguire and Alfred Molina's Doc Ock finally meet again so many years later, and they do acknowledge that friendship is still there, but it's not really there like it should be. So they go on, And all of a sudden, Doctor Strange comes in. He's like, what's going on? He's like, I hate being in the Grand Canyon. It was so long. And all of a sudden, Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Doctor Strange is like, oh, okay, I see what happened. So that's going on. All of a sudden, Goblin comes in, Norman Osborn on his hang glider with all these pumpkin bombs. And all of a sudden you see Doc Ock trying to help out and stop, and then Electro trying to help and stop, but it doesn't work. And then, the whole thing just blows up in the face of Doctor Strange because there was a pumpkin bomb in the box. And then, it's just, and it's crazy because there's such a sequence of events that happens where MJ falls off and Tom Holland goes to dive for MJ, but he gets swiped away by the hang glider. And all of a sudden, Andrew Garfield's character is next. So Andrew Garfield's character dives to save MJ. He does save MJ, but he's so emotional that he remembers what happens with Gwen in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And you can see that emotional aspect that happened in his face. And it's a really touching moment because he knows he made a mistake, but he can redeem himself. And he did redeem himself by saving this MJ. And then while that's happening, you have Tom Holland's Spider-Man fighting Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe. It's a crazy, crazy sequence of events and everything. And then all of a sudden, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is about to stab Green Goblin with the hang glider. And Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man comes in and stops him. And they just look and stare at each other. And they have a moment where Tobey Maguire doesn't say a word, but you can see the look in his eyes like, don't do it. This is not who you are. Like the saying, like Spider-Man is not who he is. So it just goes on and shows, and then it stops. All of a sudden, bang, you hear something happen, and then Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire in the back. Tobey Maguire falls back. And then, Andrew Garfield's character throws Tom Holland's Spider-Man the serum. Tom Holland stabs Willem Dafoe's character with the serum, and all of a sudden he realizes what he's done. So all these characters happen, and then, there's Tobey Maguire laying down injured. Andrew Garfield comes in, and then it's like, okay, I got this, go ahead. So while Doctor Strange is dealing with the magic spell, Tom Holland goes up and says, listen, what can I do? What can... And so Tom Holland's Spider-Man says to Doctor Strange, what if nobody knew I was Spider-Man? Just go back to that. Okay, so Doctor Strange knows that he has to do what he has to do. But the universe is breaking. He can't hold anybody because everybody's coming in. Different universe people are coming in because they know Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So those people are coming in. So as they're coming in, that's all happening. And then Tom Holland's character has to say goodbye. He hugs Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in a great, great moment as the sun is rising and coming up behind the skyline of New York. And then he goes to Ned and MJ and he says, there's a spell happening that you're going to forget about me. They have a moment, they share it, and all of a sudden, while, Doctor Strange is doing his spell, he casts it out into the universe or the world. You see everybody start to disintegrate and go back to their universe. Everyone goes back to their universes, and it's just a touching, fitting moment. So that happens, and then the next scene we see is that Parker goes to MJ and is trying to introduce himself again because she forgot who he was. Ned comes in, just sits down, it's like a regular. And then, but Peter Parker's, Spider-Man is like trying to make a conversation, but like, yeah. And then he knows certain sayings she says, but she still has that mark above her head that she has when, last time you saw her. So I feel like MJ still knows who he is, but she doesn't want to just say anything. So somehow Doctor Strange kind of helped out Peter in a way. And after that, he goes to Aunt May's grave, and he's joined by Happy Hogan, who is now oblivious to who he is. Happy Hogan does not know who this kid is and Peter Parker or Spider-Man. And, he vows to carry on certain things. Peter Parker creates a new suit from scratch. It's a really nice blue-red suit, and he's going on his way as doing his own crime fighting. So then after all of that, the credits roll. In the mid-credits scene, Eddie Brock sitting at a bar with Venom. The Venom is just talking to him, and he's trying to understand the whole universe of superheroes in this universe. A green guy, Thor, Iron Man, he's like, he doesn't know what's happening. And he's like, oh, and they talk about other superhumans like Thanos and the Blip, or being gone for 5 years or something like that, and wondering how to protect the world. The Venom and Eddie Brock are all of a sudden transformed back to their universe. Here's the catch, though. They left this one little bit of symbiote behind, sitting on the board, and all of a sudden it activates. That's the mid-credit scene. Credits roll, and the post-credit scene is the trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So while that's all happening, you get the trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. He goes to ask Wanda for the help because he's like, I need your help with the multiverse. And Wanda's like, so it is real. So all of a sudden you see different things happening in this, but it's such a darker version of the Doctor Strange of what we know. It's directed by Sam Raimi, so it's going to be crazy. And if you've seen the toys that are released and the rumors, you know who the villain is in Doctor Strange. And at the end, we see evil Doctor Strange. So, and then all of a sudden it cuts out and it says across the screen, Doctor Strange will return. So it's a great way, and it's a great fitting. I want to say Willem Dafoe was great in this, and he was the front and center main, villain. So was Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, but he was the more so nice character in a way, the villain. Jamie Foxx's Electro didn't have much screen time. Neither did Thomas Hayden Church as a Sandman or Rhys Ifans for the Lizard. But this all worked cohesively because it was such a good movie. And the villains, oh my God. I loved how they knew each other in their own universe. And they acknowledged it. And then even the Spider-Man acknowledged it, that they're here to help Peter Parker defeat their own version of the villains that they once faced. It's insane how John Watts directed this movie. It's insane how Chris McKenna and Eric Summers wrote the movie. But having Doctor Strange as the one to move Peter Parker along, and seeing Peter Parker from Captain America Civil War to now, to work everything out, was really, really good. So much happened in this movie that I was a kid coming out of it, and so crazy because it worked so well. This is something that you wanted, but it was a fan service to the fans. Kevin Feige knows what he's doing at Marvel. I do want to say Amy Pascal kind of knows what she's doing at Sony, but that's only because Marvel is actually footing everything else. Will we see another Spider-Man movie? Who knows? Maybe. I would love to see it because Eddie Brock now is in the universe, and everything is possible now because everything changed. But did the spell really work? We don't know. I don't think there was a missed plot hole in this other than, but now Tom Holland Spider-Man knows that there is a Norman Osborn, but it's not his Norman Osborn. So his version of Norman Osborn still has to come in. His version of Doc Ock has to come in. But when he does that, will he be like, oh, you're Norman Osborn. I once knew a Norman Osborn. That would be kind of cool to do. So it's a crazy thing. And not only that, but when the universe was breaking, when Strange was putting it all together, that scene was also coexistent with Loki. Where you see, Kang talking to Loki and Lady Loki, all of a sudden it's like, oh, something's happening. Oh, it's ripping apart. That's what's happening in that scene. So the multiverse is here. WandaVision started it, Loki continued it, and Spider-Man acknowledged the multiverse. It's going to get crazy from here, and if you loved my spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know in the comment section below what you thought about this movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What did you think of it? What would you take away from it? What would you add? What would you not? And do you think it was just too many things happening at one time with the villains and the Spider-Man? Because I feel like everything felt balanced, and it's not like the Spider-Man 3 directed by Sam Raimi and starring Tobey Maguire, because that was too much of one top of a layer of another. But this one was really, really well done. For me, Spider-Man No Way Home gets 5 out of 5 stars. I loved how everything was done, and I'm curious to see how everything plays out from here with how the multiverse is used and the characters and villains, and if we'll see anyone again from this movie in later movies. This movie was fun from start to finish. I'll definitely see it again. And be sure you check out my non-spoiler review, which was not much of a review, but if you enjoyed my spoiler review, let me know in the comment section below. And like I said, did you like seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back? And did you enjoy seeing everyone else back? And what did you think about the villains acknowledging themselves from their own universes? which was actually mind-blowing and insane. And also, don't forget that when you go to your local movie theater to pick up the Spider-Man Ultimate Collector combo of popcorn and your soft drink, so you can collect it. Because I know I finished my soft drink, finished my popcorn. It was a great movie. So don't be sure you go see Spider-Man, get your collector cup combo at your local movie theater. I'm pretty sure it's Regal and maybe AMC. I don't want to, say anything, but let me know. And, be sure you get your collector cup combo. And did you have fun watching this movie as much as I did? Because I think I just gave away crazy spoilers and everything that anyone can imagine. And anyone who's watching this, let me know what you thought. And, hey, if you liked what you saw, let me know in the comment section below. Look at this, Marvel. I can't stress enough how fun this movie was, and this is fantastic. And it was a long time coming, especially seeing Tom Holland's Spider-Man start in Captain America: Civil War, get his own movie in 2017, the sequel in 2019, and now in 2021, where everything just happened. Insane. I will see you all in the next review video, and thank you for everything, Marvel, because this was epic. And who and what villain do you want to see next in a Spider-Man movie? Do you want to see Venom? Do you want to see someone else? And let me know in the comment section below. Wow. Like I said, I'll see you guys in the next review video, and thanks for tuning into my spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home. And I'll also leave a link in the description box below to my non-spoiler review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Catch you guys later in the next review video.